Alright, this week we're going to take a look at a vignetting trick for your photos. So essentially, let's look at the before and after photos here. This is before and this is after, so you can see the darkening of the edges there. That's a vignette. Now, it's one of those things, it's kind of funny because it's really made a resurgence in the last 6 months or so. People, I see it all the time now, but it's one of those things that people used to try to avoid like the plague when they were taking photos, is try to avoid the vignetting effect. And now, it's funny because people are trying to add it back into photos now. Essentially, a little bit of background on vignetting can be caused by a bunch of different things. The quality of the lens that you're using, or sometimes the type of lens, a wide angle lens can often have this effect with it. Sometimes a polarizing filter on your lens can cause it. Maybe even not using a lens hood on the lens can cause it. So there's a few different factors that cause it, but a lot of times you just don't have the effect. You know, we've gotten past the part where we're trying to get rid of this effect, and now we're trying to add it. So if you've got a photo that doesn't have a vignette, you want to add it, let's take a look here and I'll show you how. Let's go to our before photo here. Now, I had a couple effects that I applied to that other photo. I kind of had that soft focus effect, and it also had a filter effect applied to it. So let's do that first here. I'm going to duplicate this photo layer. I'm just going to press Control or Command and J, and that duplicates the layer here. Then I'm going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian blur, and this is going to help me add that soft focus effect here. So I can still see generally what the image has in it, but I don't see any of the details, and that's what I'm looking for here. So I press OK, and then I'm going to reduce the opacity of this just to kind of bring in the original photo here. Again, I want a soft focus effect. And now I don't need the extra layer, so I'm going to merge these two together. I've got the top one chosen. I'm going to press Control, Command on the Mac, and the letter E. That's going to merge those two layers together. Now, if you remember before, I kind of had that morning kind of filter effect to it. Well, we're going to use a photo filter for this. So let's go to our adjustment layers. I'll go to photo filter, and I'm going to change filter to color, and then I'm going to bump the orange up just to the top a little bit here. So that adds a nice warming effect to the photo, but I'm going to bump this density way up here to somewhere 65, 70% works pretty good. And then press OK. Alright, so now we're ready to get into the vignetting effect. So let's click once on our layer here, and we'll go to Filter, Distort, Lens Correction. So it's actually the last place that you may think of to add a vignetting effect. You may think there's some other kind of cool filter or trick to do this, but actually the lens correction does it for us. So we're going to take the amount setting, and we're going to drag that one over to the left, and you can see those edges start to burn in there. Now, incidentally, there's a checkbox at the bottom of this page that you can't see, but it's called Show Grid. Now, I like to record my tutorials at this resolution just because they're more crisp, but it's not the resolution to run Photoshop at, so that's why you don't see it down here. But there's a Show Grid checkbox. I always uncheck that because I hate this grid. All right, let's get back to the midpoint here. Now the midpoint shows how much of this edge effect, how far do you want it to come in. So if I move it to the left, you can see I really start to bring it in toward the center. That really starts to put some focus on that center area. Or I can move it to the right and just start to affect the edges here. So it's really your personal taste. I leave it right kind of in the center here, maybe a little bit to the left of the center point. And then once you're done, click on OK. And there you go, you've got your vignetting effect. So that's before and that's after. It adds a really nice effect to the photo, and really helps concentrate the focus when somebody's looking at it. You can really help get them, just zone them into the area that you want them to be focusing on in the photo. Now, another trick is before you create this effect, duplicate the layer and then go in and apply the lens correction filter to the duplicate layer, and then just click OK. When you're done, reduce the opacity of that top layer, and then you can even control the vignetting effect a little bit more. So if you got a couple ways you can do it, there's a lot of control here, and it really adds a nice effect to your photos. So hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and we'll see you again next time. Thanks.